All right, so I had an epiphany the other day about this whole bullshit that we're going through, and people are responding to this situation that we're in very differently. Uh, and I don't know if I've ever um, seen anything quite like this. The government has convinced us that if your neighbor does not comply, that they are guilty of murder. You're killing grandma if you don't wear the mask. If your neighbor does not comply with these outrageously erroneous policies and lockdowns, um, that they need to be punished, that they're harming the greater good. And first of all, no, that's not true. That's not the case. That's not what's happening. They want to point the finger and say, oh, well, these states opened up early and they're doing really bad, and then they praise the way that New York handled the epidemic. Are you kidding me? Like they're showing you right then what they have an agenda. They're pushing an agenda. They're pushing an ideology. They're pushing for widespread adoption of policies that benefit them and them only. New York did not do this the right way. Dr. Fauci says New York is an example of how the rest of this should go. So all the other governors should send COVID-19 infected individuals back into nursing homes, which, by the way, 42% of all COVID deaths across the United States, at least as cataloged as COVID-19 deaths this whole time, 42% have occurred in nursing homes or other long-term care facilities. Did you know that? 42%. And that they've been bolstering these numbers up, that counties have flat out admitted to lying, to falsification of the data. New York added 3,700 cases of people who were never tested but just presumed to have had COVID. One of the counties over in California put an extra 50% on top of their actual number of cases because they felt like there were other jurisdictions that were underrepresented. And so they just felt like putting an extra 50% on to compensate for these other areas being underrepresented in the data. If you look at what's happening, and they always say, we're following the science, but are you really? Are you really though? Seems odd that the party that is following the science, the party that believes in science, is also the party that believes there's more than two genders. It's also the party that believes just because you think that you're someone else that you are. That's not how that works. That's not science. And science is never settled. The science is settled. No, it's not. Science is never settled unless it can be proven, factually proven. That's why the creation theory is a theory, because nobody, and I'm a believer, but no, you cannot actually prove creationism to be accurate. You can't. I mean, if you read the Bible and if you open your heart to Jesus, he'll show you he's real, but you can't prove it. Just as much as you cannot prove evolution. It's disprovable. Matter of fact, it takes more faith to believe evolution than it does creation. Because how do you get DNA to make all of us and every other living thing on the planet from a swirling ball of atoms, from protons, neutrons, and electrons all just flying around the atmosphere? And then where did those come from? If there's no creator, where did all those things come from? Like they just existed? Like, so anyway, but that's beside the point. So, we're following the science. Yeah, you like hell you are. Look at the numbers, dude. Look at the data. Right now, COVID looks like a really, really bad flu season. And we have a vaccine for the flu. They've already admitted to bolstering up the numbers. They've already admitted that death with COVID is classified as death by COVID, which, by the way, brings me to a funny point. George Floyd was also positive for COVID-19 when he died. So it's really not police brutality. It's a COVID death. Just throwing that out there. Being facetious, of course. Not. I hope you understand. Anyway, and I find it funny that the Democrats are always the ones. Donald Trump's going to ruin America. He's going to ruin America. He's gonna destroy our country. He's going to, like, what did you think that he was going to do? Like, what did you think he was going to do? The only people that force you to do things that you don't want are the Democrats. They're the ones. The Democrats are the ones that make you buy shit you don't want. Obamacare. The Democrats are the ones that make you do shit you don't want. The masks, the lockdowns. And anyway, so I'll end with this, but the whole, the reason why people like me say, I don't want to wear the mask. First of all, there's no science to back up that it's effective in stopping a virus. Even Lord Fauci himself said back in March that a mask gives you little to no protection against a virus. It's exactly what he said in March. He said it might make people feel better, but it does not offer you any protection. And all of a sudden the science has changed because we need to wear a mask all the time now. That makes no sense. It does not make a lick of sense at all whatsoever. It's obvious this cat is bought and paid for, period. He's just a goon, just like all the other dipshit politicians. He's just a goon. He's just a puppet. He just gets used. They just tell him what to say, and he says it. But the reason why I don't like to wear the mask, and a lot of other people don't like it, you say, "Oh, it's just a mask, Luke. Just calm down. Come on, dude. Don't be an ass. It's for the greater good. Come on, dude. Just put the mask on, and then we'll all be able to go back to life as, like normal life." I mean, I'll tell it to you like they did us. Hey, man, it's just 2 weeks. It's just 2 weeks, quarantine. 6 months later. And now it's stricter than it was then. Wrap your mind around that shit. The virus has been active here in the United States, at least under our radar now, for 6 months. And we have mask mandates in different states all over the country. We have governors threatening to put the state's population back in lockdown again after 6 months. So we're just never going to recover from this. We're just never going to get over COVID-19. That's my problem with the mask. Oh, it's just 2 weeks. That's no big deal. It's like an extended spring break for the kids, 6 months later, now you're wearing a mask everywhere. Some schools aren't opening up. Some schools are only doing distance learning. Think about it. Don't be stupid. Do not be a sheep. Do not be a mindless, brainless cog in the wheel that is the incorporation of the United States.